I'm Pedro Silva.
I'm Daniel Rosa.
And this is
Drinking with the Saints.
So what do we got today?
Today is Saint Bernadette Soubirous. She is an awesome young saint from Lourdes, France. The year is 1858. She's one of 6 kiddos. She's the oldest. She's out gathering wood with her sister and her friend, and they cross this little creek in the grotto, and she encounters a young woman wearing white and blue with an ivory and gold rosary, Our Lady of Lourdes. It is an awesome story of a young girl encountering Our Lady through these apparitions, 18 in total. And her story, I think, just really communicates something really amazing. But what do you love about Saint Bernadette?
So not of Subaru,
No.
but Subaru.
Yes, that's her last name.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not the car company.
No, no.
Okay. So what I love about her is her humility.
Yeah.
Her humility is just outstanding. Maybe some of you haven't watched the movie, but the Song of Bernadette.
Oh, that's my dad's favorite movie.
It's
hands
amazing.
down. Yeah.
I watched it by myself one time.
Yeah.
I literally cried from beginning to end
I believe that.
because it's so beautiful.
Yeah.
I'm also a crier. So.
Yeah. It's a little too
Yes, but it's beautiful, and I love the humility.
Yeah.
And particularly, I love that when people, because I mean, people brought her in like for questioning,
Yeah.
right? Even church authorities, they put her through the crucible of humiliation, and yet she never strayed away from the truth. She never overemphasized the thing, but she was always very consistent in the way she told the story of the apparitions.
Yeah.
And it was never about shedding light on herself, but it was always to shed light on Our Lady, and as Our Lady is really shining the light on her Son, our Lord Jesus.
One of the stories, I don't know if y'all seen the little cartoon of Saint Bernadette. I forgot it's from the VHS, but I remember going to Catholic school and going home, and she'd be bending down. One of the apparitions, Our Lady asked her to dig into the mud and then to consume an herb. And I just remember watching that and feeling so disgusted that she would do something like that. And thus springs forth the spring. That water, which 164 years later, is still flowing today. That 69 miracles have been confirmed. I'm just amazed that something like that still exists. But you're right. She never made it about herself. In fact, when she grew up, she entered into a religious order to try to remain hidden.
Yes. The hidden life was big for her.
Yeah.
Well, funny, because that's exactly how people felt when they saw her drinking the mud and then eating it was a blade of grasses.
Ooh, yeah.
And they all felt the same way.
Yeah.
And her family had to come over and just wipe off, but she just full of love, and she just embraced that humiliation out of love. So for her, suffering is not so much an act of just enduring pain, but it's a pain that has been transfigured, and it's for the sake of the other.
That's cool.
Which is love. It's love, right? So she's literally suffering for sinners.
Yeah.
That's been like all her goal in life. Talk about the stream. Cool story. I remember vividly, since I was like very little in Brazil, my brother Marcus had really bad bronchitis. I remember my parents like throwing us in the car and rushing him to the hospital.
Whoa.
So he can get air, oxygen. Because we didn't have the tools, right? We didn't have the money to have someone for our own. So I remember in the middle of the night having to go to the hospital. And then eventually we moved to Spain. And we did a pilgrimage to Lourdes. And so my mom took Marcus's shirt off, took the water, and just rubbed the water on his chest and back.
Yeah.
And never had an attack again.
Whoa.
Never had an attack again.
The 70th miracle, quote unquote.
But it's very small. It's a very small thing.
Yeah.
But Marcus never had an attack again.
You know, as people go to this site, Our Lady of Lourdes, it's one of the most visited outside of Our Lady of Guadalupe, Fatima, and Rome. People go in search of physical healing, but while there may be physical healing, there's also this spiritual healing. Yeah. There's almost this rejuvenation in one's faith. My mom had the pleasure of going. I got to follow in her steps and going, and what we came back with was not just like, oh, that was such a great trip, but like I felt good to be Catholic, like good to be a son.
Yeah.
And like in search of love, really. So
one of the things that really stuck out to me is how important the family is.
Oh, yeah.
Saint Bernadette was born to a rich family, but then they lost everything.
Mm-hmm.
Her father went even as far as he was accused of stealing just a piece of wood, and he was thrown in jail. But then he eventually was let out.
Yeah.
And they moved into what was an abandoned jail cell that was deemed unlivable, and they shared this one room with each other.
Yeah.
But the family was always known for their piety and for their love towards one another.
Yeah.
And that in this environment where most would be, quite frankly, like resentful towards God, but no, they couldn't help but to have that sense of gratitude, which this young girl who couldn't receive schooling at 13, she was still with the 7-year-olds in a catechism class.
Yeah.
So you see like this, how even, we don't know how God's writing our stories. That even in our poverty, God can bring out something so great as Saint Bernadette. And towards the end of, when she entered into religious life, one of my favorite quotes is, and I think it's in a Song of Bernadette, is like, just like any broom, God used me and now he's putting me back in the closet. Because as she was growing after the apparitions, her heart was moving towards more that hidden life that you talked about, and also that time of prayer.
Yeah.
But she was so sick that she couldn't become a Carmelite. But then eventually an order took her in. And even the Mother Superior, they brought everybody in. It's like, tell the story once, so then you don't have to say it again. Yeah. So she was under the pains of obedience to not even share the story of Lourdes unless Mother Superior gave her, lifted the obedience and allowed her to do so. And she did that.
Wow.
Happily.
Yeah.
And even towards the end, she was very sickly. And they asked her, why don't you go to Lourdes? She's like, that's not for me.
Oh.
That's not for me. Because what did Our Lady promise for her? Our Lady promised her that she was going to suffer in this life, but be happy in the next. And she was able to find joy in that suffering because her suffering was always joined to the suffering of Christ out of love.
It's so beautiful. Though we honor a great saint, one who is humble, simple, that one that Our Lady appears to. And for us, even in our daily lives, I don't think we can't say that Mary won't come to us just like that and promise us something great. Our Lord has said it. Our Lady wants to appear to us, and we can ask for Saint Bernadette's intercession for us on this journey.
Ultimately, man, Mary is the model.
Yeah. And
the Lord really in his providence couldn't have picked a better young woman to exemplify the virtues of his mother. Because, every time I see Bernadette, I was just reading her story, preparing for this, I was crying the whole time.
Yeah.
Because it's so genuine. Mm-hmm. It's so absolutely genuine. And it stirs the heart. I'm like, I desire to live that poverty, that humility, that hiddenness. Mm-hmm. But how does that look like for me? Because all of us are called to have some sort of participation in that humility, that hiddenness, and that poverty of Saint Bernadette, but ultimately of the Holy Family.
Truly. Well, cheers to Saint Bernadette. Thank you for joining us on this episode of
Drinking with the Saints.